Oh, really? Yeah, especially psychology. I wanted to look at yeah, I wanted to look at the groups as opposed to the individual, because I've always been interested in cultures. So, yeah, it's kind of messed up. So, that's awesome. That's I think she was down. I think the one that just stood up.
So it's about time we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to the Women's Coding Collective. I see a lot of familiar faces, but also some new ones, so welcome if this is your first event. Tonight we're really excited to have Sahidya here with us to talk about web analytics. She's a software engineer at Forrester Research, and I understand she's already kind of gone around the room and gotten to know you a little bit, so I'm going to let her get started.
Hello again. So, for those of you who already know, we're going to talk about web analytics. For those of you who don't know, we're going to talk about web analytics. So, the agenda for today is I'm going to introduce myself as I promised earlier, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the nits and grits of web analytics. As I said earlier, the crowd here is sort of, there's like a range here. There's a variety of people here with different backgrounds. So I kept this as less technical as possible. But if you all want to go more further into technical, we can definitely catch up again. We can connect through LinkedIn, and there are other ways, thanks to internet. And as I go through my presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about evolution, a little history about web analytics. I thought it was very interesting. How this whole thing evolved, and then some current trends with some examples of what's happening in companies, and these are all real-time examples that happened. Some were in my workplace, and then some were like somewhere else, so I got to know about them. And then the future. What is the future of web analytics? Where is this going? And as I go through, I'm not only going to talk just about web analytics, but I'm also going to broaden the scope a little bit and talk about business a little bit and the strategy and how executives make decisions. Not only executives, but how this technology that's evolving is also going to affect us who wants to be in technology or who wants to know about this tool. How is it going to affect our jobs, and what are we going to do with it? So that's the agenda for today. And feel free to stop me if you want to have any questions. I want to make this as interactive as possible. As I said, I'm doing a project for web analytics, so I'm also learning. So all of your questions is going to help me. I will quote you in my project to help me. That's a promise. Introduction, I'm a software engineer. I'm not just a software engineer, I'm a proud software engineer. I love what I'm doing, and I strongly believe that women should be in technology because it's so boring to have men there. Those guys. I can't dress up. If I dress up, they're like, what is this? What other girls there? So women stay in technology. It's awesome to be there. And I'm also a graduate student at Tufts Garden Institute. Whenever I'm a very creative person, but whenever I came up with creative thoughts, I was always curtailed because I never knew what business was. because I'm a hardcore engineer. I wanted to be in technology, so I never cared about the other part. But as life took me, there was one point where I had to choose to go to school, so I chose MS in Engineering Management, which has opened up a tons of opportunities for me, which is one reason why I'm here and I'm even talking today. Thanks to my advisor, Mary Viola, she's here. And also, I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. I'm looking for opportunities, and I consider myself an entrepreneur by standing here right in front of you, right in front of the other women like me, and I'm an artist. When time permits, I paint, and I love painting other women. I paint women from different cultures. I do oil painting, and I paint abstract women's, a lot of stuff I do. But I'm an engineer basically. I just can't, and by now you know I love sticky notes. So you're gonna start because this whole agile thing, Scrum thing, there's sticky notes all around me. So I thought I could use them in slides. So why not? So web analytics. My grandmother, she's so good in making choices when she goes to a shop and buying. So when a salesman is trying to sell her something, she'll tell me what this doesn't do. Then I'll just consider whether I want to buy this or not. So I thought that was an interesting idea. So I'm going to start by telling what web analytics is not. So people who are here, if you know web analytics, do you want to tell what do you think about web analytics? Come on, data scientist, do you want? Sorry, Sulanta.
It's about any information that you can get through a website. It doesn't matter what kind it is, whether it's unstructured or structured, it's click rate or it's time series or whatever it is. Anything that comes, I look at website as something that is facing the public, and whatever comes through it is the data that I can use, and that for me is what we learn.
Nice. Do anybody else have other definitions or views? All right. I started off like I wanted to propose a project for my company. So I started interviewing people who are potential web analytic users. So when I started talking to them, I realized all of them had like a view or a perception about web analytics. Sometimes they were right about it, like Sunanda, smart, but there other people they were not. They were in like web marketing. They were primarily in sales, but they were using these tools, but they had their own perceptions. So people who don't know web analytics, I'd like to begin saying that it's not an accounting tool. Web analytics is not going to give you numbers for your balance sheet. Second, it's not a census report. It's not going to tell you the demographics of your user. Even if it does, it's going to be of very less use in my experience. And most of all, it's not Alexander the guy. It's not a fortune teller, basically. And a little more facts, like I've used web analytics a little bit in my past. So what happens is sometimes when a visitor comes to your website, there are chances that if the visitor is smart enough, the person can mask himself or herself. So you may not be able to track this person, or you may never be able, just because you have a web analytic tool behind your website, it doesn't mean it's going to capture everything that's going on. There can be misinterpretations, there can be missed visits, there can be a lot of things that is not what we wanted to see or what actually happened there. And also, even if all the data that is being collected by this web analytic tool, it's not 100% accurate. All this being said, why is web analytics so popular? We'll see now. So, do you all like shopping? I'm pretty sure all of you like shopping. When was the last time you all shopped? Yesterday? Day before yesterday? Today? Yeah. When did you shop online? Did anybody shop online recently?
Yes.
Yeah. Show of hands, how many people shopped online this month? Wow, that's quite a statistic here. How many people shopped online this day a year ago? Do you remember? Yeah.
Probably.
So you see, there's within this small sample set of group, there's a huge mind shift. We've started shopping online, and there are stores that are only online. They don't even have physical stores. It's brick and mortar is disappearing. It's moving towards click and mortar. So it was funny because my in-laws came in and we bought a lot of furniture and we bought everything online. We just clicked, it got delivered, we fixed it, we threw it in, we got the furniture. And then I wanted to buy something. I wanted to buy a black cardigan. I couldn't find it anywhere. So my husband was like, why don't you buy it in overstock.com? I said, I'm just not ready yet to buy my clothes in the same shop that I bought my furniture. So my husband's like, honey, it's not going to work that way anymore. Do you understand? You're a web developer. That is sort of I was like quite surprised. I mean, I was living that life, but then like to take a step back and look at it and look at the change that has happened maybe in the last few years, it's humongous. So websites have almost become the way of business for a lot of billionaire companies. Facebook, Amazon, all of these companies, they invest so much on their website that they want to make sure they have a return on investments. And maintaining these websites is not cheap. Web developers get paid. and not just developing costs, but for the fact that the servers and the amount of setup that has to go through, web developers, you know what license. Yeah, licensing, it's not free. So when we have a setup, like it's like building a house. When you have a house, you might as well have a good one, a nice one. It's like that. Something that you can live, something that you can use. So the websites need to be used, and it needs, when a company is investing in its website, they might as well get maximum return of investment. So how do you know your websites are good enough? How do you know the person who's your customer who's using your website is liking your website? Before, when you go to some stores, you would know there'll be like aisles together, they're clean, they're nicely laid out. The customer comes, you buy, so you can. That was a different sort of setup, but now you don't even know who's coming to your website, who's visiting it, thanks to Google. Everybody can get anything from anywhere. So web analytics started evolving at that point. We use web analytics to sort of understand what your customer wants, or sort of understand what your customer is experiencing when he's on your website. And then we should try to optimize the usage of website. We don't want the customer coming and doing 100,000 clicks, and you don't want the server to bust out there. So every click matters. You want to optimize the usage. You want to show your customer what he or she wants when they come to your website. Customers want individual attention. People are attention seekers. I don't find what I want. I don't want your website. I'll go to another one. So that's where web analytics comes into place. Definitions, and we definitely need the definitions. So web analytics became so popular, they had an association for it, and then they came up with a definition, and it's that big definition. It's on Wikipedia. It's on the little handout that I gave. But what it's really is, in simple words, it's just a study of impact of your website on the user. If you are an entrepreneur and you have a company and you have put up a website there, if a user comes, you want to know how the user is feeling there. What impact your website had on the user. So when I want to buy furniture, I went to Amazon.com. Amazon is awesome, but their user interface was not that good. They've changed it in the past week. So I just went to Wayfair.com. I bought an Overstock.com. So I just spent 2 minutes in Amazon.com and they lost me. Maybe they might have lost more customers in that time when their user experience was not so good. It was all cramped up. It was all yellow, and I got bored. And I'm like, I want something new. And Wayfair was there, so nice, no white, and they had a lot of nice deals, and they showed it to me above all. So I liked it. So every user is important to you. just because it's all globalized and anybody can sell anything from anywhere, at the end of the day, it all matters like how many deals did you close or how many customers did you get. It's too much to lose it as customer. So we want to know how everyone feels. So that's where web analytics comes into play again. So now what web analytics can do? It can help you to understand your customer experience. And this is the most popular of all. If you have an ad and you can easily measure like how many people clicked on the ad and the effectiveness of the ad. There are like a lot of different rates of where the ads are being placed in the website. So that's the most these two are the most popular ones, but there are like few other uses that not a lot of people know about. You can use web analytics to also diagnose server problems or site problems if their site goes down. Before even anybody knows, your web analytical tool would know that. So not a lot of people make use of that. And also it helps you to evaluate your roadblocks. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. So essentially, web analytics helps you to capture your customer experience, which is very important. And then if you are a web analytics, if you get a job as a marketing person, I hope you will have fun. By fun, I mean fundamental understanding of numbers. What are these numbers? I don't know like how businesses functioned a decade ago. Maybe they had like number of people coming into the store, number of people buying, number of goods sold, all that. But now with websites, we have new metrics. So you need to understand what each of those metrics mean. For some businesses, number of views might bring them a lot of money, but for some businesses, the clicks actually matter. So you will get to understand these metrics and what those numbers mean. And you will also, if you are responsible for implementing web analytical tool for your website, or if you're using it, these are the list of tasks you will be doing. So you basically will analyze the needs, you will set goals, and not only that, once you have that, you will also define metrics. Without that, you will not have anything put on your website. If I have a menu bar, I want to know how many people are actually using it. Are they getting to an information through that menu bar? Are they using any other source channel to get to that specific information? If they're not using the menu bar at all, they don't have it there. Take it out. It's not worth the effort or the space. Also, you will collect and record data, which is what everybody knows. And then you will also have test improvement strategies. From time to time, you will go back and check if that menu bar is actually being used. Are they using this little video carousel that's on your website? Are they using these ad campaigns? So these are the sort of test improvements strategies that you will deploy. And also you will have to find a way to measure the outcome. Measure the outcome that is useful for your company, that's useful for your business. And also you have to repeat these processes periodically and have fun. So that being said, that is web analytics. That's overview. A little bit of history. Everybody likes history? Yeah, I see a couple of nods, but I have no choice. I decided to put it in. So I think in 1990 is when www started becoming popular. So all the web developers, you may already know, every time someone requests or every time someone opens your website, everything is being logged in your servers. So there was one guy somewhere, he probably owns Web Trends now. So what he did was he was probably looking at the server log file, something went wrong, and he was looking at it and he thought, oh wow, there's so much data in here. If I compile this information, I can make use of this information to something meaningful. It's not just data, but if I do some sort of analytics on it, I can get some meaningful information. So that's when he started using web trends, was introduced in 1993. What they did was they found a way to compile all the log information, and they started doing certain things proactively so that they can give a better experience for the user. But what I personally think, a lot of companies, Omnichurch came in 1996 to 1997, around that time. But what I personally think was groundbreaking was Google Trends. So in 2009, Google published a scientific paper in a scientific journal called Nature. Everybody were so surprised, and the paper was like, it was a groundbreaking paper. What basically few bunch of data scientists in Google did was they predicted there is going to be a flu, H1N1 flu outbreak in the US. The doctors did not know about it. The Committee of Disease, I forgot the name, I'm sorry. There is one committee in the US that keeps looking for such information. That CDC. Oh yes, sorry. I remember that next time. CDC. They keep looking for this information. So what they basically do is every time a doctor gets a flu patient, he's supposed to record it, send it to the regional office, and then they collect the data, and then they aggregate it, they process it, and then they predict that there's going to be a flu. It's a 3-month process. By then there is a flu outbreak, and you all know what happens. But what Google did was Google was able to predict there's going to be a flu even before CDC even knew about it. How? Because there were a lot of people using Google search to look for flu medicine. Not only was Google able to predict there's going to be flu, they were also able to predict which state and in which region the flu was going to spread maximum. So that blew the scientists off because computer engineers are not doctors. And how did they do this? Thanks to Google. And not only was this data accurate, they were able to give such level of details and the accuracy of the data. That was like groundbreaking. I personally think that was a trendsetter because Google had so much data. The other websites, though they were logging the information and they were trying to be predictive, the amount of data that Google had, I don't think anybody else could have had it, and anybody else could have done this. They are awesome. They're still awesome. So that's a little bit of overview. Do you have any questions? Sure.
So what were you saying about the www?
Oh, 1990s is when internet started becoming popular, World Wide Web.
I think it was 93, yeah. It was around the same time.
90 and like
Yeah.
immediately after that. So when you have a website, so when you open a website, every action that you do, it's sending a request to a server where the code is being hosted, and every action gets logged. So Web Trends decided to compile the log information so they could have like an aggregated data of what's happening in their website. So yeah, did I answer your question?
So is that like a gate to say, okay, now we're able to get the data for the web analysis, or what was the point of having the www dot? Is that what you were trying to explain?
Oh no, so in www internet was something different. This is after what happened, after internet became popular. Like www became popular in early 90s, and then like people started having websites, and then so when you start having websites, there are like a lot of things that happen behind the scenes. There's like a huge web engineering process. One of it is logging the information. So web analytics was started from those logs.
Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else? You have any questions, thoughts?
Just a caveat that I would like to point out about the Google trends is that they it was groundbreaking, as you said. It was pretty cool that a bunch of, as you said, computer scientists could predict something.
Yeah.
But later on, it was much later on when data science started picking up speed that people realized that Google actually got it wrong. Like their predictions were
2013.
yeah, way off. And that relates more to the fact about how you interpret the data you got, right? Just because you're searching for Dayquil, Nyquil doesn't mean you have a flu, or that they didn't do that kind of granular analysis.
Google
But
got
that's the
busy.
thing,
Yeah, Google got busy with other stuff.
Yeah.
They never updated their algorithm. But starting from 2009 until 2013, Google Trends was able to predict whatever information CDC would give after 3 months. You can still go to googletrends.com and see the comparison graphs. Only in 2013, their curve went off. They really shooted high up because suddenly people started searching about Dayquil and Nyquil, and then Google said, oh, there's a flu outbreak. And then CDC said, whoa, 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 no, Google, you're wrong. Once in a while, Google is wrong. So now that being said, where is web analytics now? Can someone here, if you want to share like your favorite website and why you like that website? And also tell me if there's a website that you don't like it and why you don't like it.
Reddit. Reddit's a great website.
Mm-hmm. Why do you like it?
You can find anything on Reddit. Even things you don't want to find.
Yeah.
Especially there. But it's so like bare bones and simple, and it's all user-generated content. It's just awesome, and so many things start from there. It's truly the front page of the internet.
Do you feel that Reddit is making you feel at home at some point?
I have a lot of different homes on Reddit.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I don't want to be home, but yeah, it really does. I mean, when you find your own like subreddit, there's a subreddit for everything and anything, and you can really find your niche of people, and there's a group there, and they all have their own kind of voice, and they generate their own kind of content. So it's kind of like bouncing around from different social scenes, but being very antisocial.
It's very nice. You have.
I was going to say the website I don't like is Reddit.
Oh yeah. So this is interesting. Oh wow. So do you want to tell why you don't like it?
Using the store analogy, I always feel like I'm walking into a discount store when I walk in Reddit. Like, you want to find something, you have to hunt for it, and it's not like you can just quickly go to the website, kind of see what's new. A website that I do like is Politicos, because they have like very streamlined headlines, they have nice picture captions, it's not a lot of clutter, so that you can go to it very quickly, catch the headlines, and then move to the next.
Nice. So like in the same room we have like 2 people sitting next to each other. That's quite a coincidence. They have like 2 different views on the same website. Yes.
Well, along the same vein, I think I really like Quora. I mean, it's similar to Reddit in a way that it's purely user generated. But at the same time, like I feel like the information I get from there is much more useful than what I get from Reddit. So like when I go to Reddit, I feel like I just waste time. Same like I spend time on Facebook. I just feel that I waste time and I feel depressed. But then on Quora, I feel that, I actually get something useful out of, what experts say. Or I look at the content that's being most uploaded. So I felt like I enjoy it.
So Quora's success here is it was able to attract a user and she likes it. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Oh, Min.
Min. So Min likes Quora.com. That is Quora's success. There was a web designer back in Quora who was definitely looking at these web analytics and trying to understand who Quora's customers are. And then they designed a website that a Quora's customer would like. But same, in Reddit, there is a person who's sitting behind the scenes analyzing all of the user experience, and they know who their customers are, and they are delivering content for the customers that they think they want to use their website for. Maybe you're not the Reddit's customer types, but definitely there's another website that you like, and they want to give you the data that they want to give. So I lived in Canada for quite some time before I moved to the US. I worked for this newspaper called the Globe and Mail. It's sort of Boston Globe's equivalent in Canada. Canadians, any Canadians in the room? Okay. So the company, it was sad. Although I had nice time because I was like working for the mobile team, and we had all these awesome technologies, like all these awesome gadgets, and like we were like, wow, iPhone 5, iPhone this, iPhone that, iPad Retina display, let's do this, let's do that. But then on the other side of the building, there'll be like journalists who are so passionate about their jobs, and people who are in the printing business with their typewriters. Unfortunately, technology has moved on. But what happened was, Globe and Mail, Canada's population is very less. We all know that, and we all know why. So there were like two large newspapers, and there was this another newspaper, I don't want to mention the name, but they were getting to the customers in different ways. They gave the news with little spice in it, like there was a lot of gossip, page 3 information. But Globe and Mail, no, we don't call him CEO, he's our publisher. He was titled Knight as a knight by the Queen. So he had his nose high up and he had his thing straight up. He said, we go down with our nose high. We will not give information that is not real. We will never give biased information. We will not support a political party. So that was the sort of integrity that our company took, and we knew who our customers were. So our goal was to reach out to that customers and give them the best, so they will retain with us. The other company obviously had a different strategy. They targeted at the different income level group. Our publisher went to the media and said, I don't want people who have salaries below $100,000 to read my paper, which means I cannot read Globe and Mail, and I never did. So every company, every website, when they put their website up, they definitely cannot, unless they're Facebook, they cannot address to everybody. They have their customers. So when you know who your customers are, how are you going to address? And there you will run into a variety of problems, and web analytics can help you. So what I'm about to show you is, I'm going to walk you through a bunch of examples of how web analytics really help big companies, and they did see a lot of changes in their revenue books. So currently web analytics. So web analytics, I want to broaden it right now. We will move, like, there is web analytics, and there is also this new thing called social analytics. Thanks to Facebook, they have to do something when Google does something. So when Google did Google Analytics, Facebook came with their own social analytics concept, and then there is like Twitter. So all of these things. Right now in the industry, there used to be these marketing people who go out there. They used to conduct these surveys, try to understand what the market was, and then the business was market driven. But now there is a mind shift. Business is data driven. Steve Jobs, I personally think, broke this because he thought, you don't know what you want. I give you what you want and you enjoy that. And that was iPhone. if we had gone by the market-driven policy, we would never have had an iPhone, because status quo doesn't think about innovation. We never would have imagined my phone can show me how to walk to this place from Kendall Station. So things are changing. And web analytics is part of the change. So when we are in web analytics spaces, it's important to understand how your company is looking at this tool that you want to work on, or how is this tool helping your company, and why do they want to have these tools? And also, like you said, Reddit gives you information that you would like to see. Sometimes the information that you don't want to see, but you look at it. So every website needs to give individual personalized information. Otherwise, we don't like the website. We move away from it. How is it possible for the website to give each and every user special attention? It gets really complex. But even if it's getting complex, data management is becoming a key business driver. Every company is seriously considering to have its own content strategy. We used to have marketing strategy, we had technology strategy, but content strategy is something very, very new. And how they want to treat it at the different levels of organization is something that's evolving. So back to Global Mail. So as I said, Canada had like 2 huge newspapers, and we were trying to foray into the mobile world. And one of the key business drivers or catch was we found that when we were first in the market, we grabbed attention. And once you have a app on your phone, you're not going to delete it. Come on. Unless if it's really draining your battery or something, you're not going to delete it. So we wanted to be first in the market. And then we released these series of mobile apps. And then we had a really agile setup. And then one day, I still remember the day, Kate and William got engaged with the blue sapphire ring and all that. That happened in Britain. In Canada, a lot of Canadians started looking for that information. And then we also found, so we also had a tie-up with BBC. So some of the articles get rerouted. That's a whole business. We don't want to get there. But people were so interested, but we found that they were not with the search results, search keywords that they used to search, but we found that they were not getting enough searches, enough results. Usually if a person is searching, they search for it twice, but we found that there were like a lot of people who were searching for the same keywords thrice because they were not getting the information they wanted. So one of our product owners, he decided, let's roll out a Royal Wedding app. We did it in 2 weeks because we had the setup. We were very agile. We were flat. We didn't want to wait for our publisher to come and give it a go. We did it, and it was a huge success. And the result was we had 10% increase in our monthly viewership, views and readership. That's like a huge increase in a market like Canada. Because if you see Canadian population, it's very polarized towards Toronto and Vancouver. And the rest of the population is very dispersed. With such complex demographics, we were able to get 10% increase. That was like a huge success. Why? Because of web analytics. So it's very, very crucial how a company ingests the data that's coming from their own website. How quickly are they able to process it, and how quickly are you able to take the decisions? That is a very, very critical factor. We were able to win because we had a data scientist in our office, although he was very, very expensive. The other company did not have, and they did not have the setup to roll out a new app like that. So if you see now, the web analytics is one part, but if you see the sort of process that went through to make use of this web analytics, it's huge. It needs like an organizational rearrangement, structure, process improvement, and a lot of restructuring. You cannot have like, okay, I give you the requirement today, you can take 3 weeks to design, 4 weeks to, talk with all people there and get it approved, and then develop it for next 6 months and release it in 1 year. We had to do it in 1 week. Weekly releases, and we had it and we nailed it. That's.
I have a question about your case.
Sure.
In your increase in readership, what time frame measurement were you?
Monthly. Monthly.
Monthly.
Yeah, so.
Monthly between the engagement and the wedding, or?
Between the app release, we didn't really care about when they got
married. Well, sort of like how far ahead of the wedding did you release the app?
I know it was still cold when they got married. So
okay.
It was like few months before,
okay.
At least 3 months. I know there was like a brief engagement between their engagement and wedding.
Okay.
But yeah, this was like one success story of web analytics. customer engagement. So this is like what happened in real time. There's like I can't reveal the company's name, but there's like leading gaming company, and the game was very successful. It was an online gaming company. You could go online, play their games, and come out. They had like these really complex games set up. But at one point, what happened was some of their customers started churning because they were not good enough to play their game, so they stopped playing. And some of them were too good at it that they quickly reached all the levels and they didn't want to play. So it ended up nobody wants to use their website. Now it's really expensive for this gaming company to go back and change their game or roll out new games because it's hard. What do you think the company did? Do you want to guess? Any guesses?
I'm thinking of like those like the candy games and like Candy Crush.
Yeah.
I was thinking Candy Crush because I swear they adapt my. Every time I finish, it looks like I have one more move left, and then we'll sell you 2 more moves. So that's what I was thinking of, something like that.
Okay. Hey, you almost got it.
Answer that early on. I had a web game that my company had rolled out as part of their proof concept commerce items to consumers, and we had a fish game. It was a tropical fish, and the nice thing about it is when customers to come in, they would like gain and add fish to their schools by finding things during their shopping experience, like clicking on things that popped up. But the nice thing, they went to play the fish game, but they never lost their fish. They always got them back at the end of their game. So I encouraged them to come play.
Yeah.
It was a simple bit.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like pretty similar. If they had to go back and introduce a new game, it would have been an expensive affair. So all they did was they hired a company. There are companies that do just web analytics. So they found that people who were bad at it churned, and people who were too good at it were too successful that they didn't want to come back. It was not challenging enough. So they started sending weekly emails. Personalized emails, which makes us feel special. So people who are like really good at it, they started like receiving challenging emails saying that, oh, you didn't use this weapon, so do you want to go try again? And they did. And people who were churning, they sent them tips, tricks, and also videos so they can go back and play. As a result, it increased customer retention and revenue by double digits. They are super successful, and they're still successful, and they still send their emails. Another example. Oops, sorry.
So Twitter's doing that a lot now. If you haven't used, I have managed a couple Twitter accounts for clients, and if they haven't used it in a while, they'll send out an email. I noticed you haven't used your Twitter account in a while.
Yeah. So I was browsing on overstock.com, and I don't even know, I don't even wear any chains, but I got interested in pearls, and I was looking at a pearl chain, and then I left it at that, and I get an email like 2 days later, like, did you forget your pearl chain? Wow, they sounded so nice. I was like, I almost wanted to buy it, but I didn't. But if they ask me one more time, I might. Like, I'm at work, I'm like juggling between things, and then suddenly I get this nice email. Did you forget something? And I was like, oh yeah, there's someone who's trying to remember me. Okay, there is a mishap here. Sorry about that. But anyway, so this is also another example. True & Co. Have you all heard about this company? True & Co. So they are inner garment manufacturing company. They sell women inner garments, and this company has been in business for a long time, and they have gained knowledge through their experience. They obviously gained a lot of knowledge, and so what they did was they sell their stuff online. So they ask a lot of questions to their customers for feedback because they've been in the business and they know what questions to ask. So when they asked, they found that they did ask how women felt about padded bras. And apparently, women had very polarized views about padded bras. I had no idea, but they do. It's us, we do. The company knew they had to ask about this. They did, and they did get the information, but they did nothing about it. They did not use this information to enhance their business or enhance their user experience. So what they did, so this information was, again, as I said, was being collected but never used. So what they did was eventually they started using this information to reach back to their existing customers and new customers to check if they wanted padded bras in a very polarized way. I don't know what it means, but they did, and they were very successful. They were able to again engage their customers in a new way and give them better recommendations. That again increased their sales. So future, where do you think this is all heading to? Like I've told you a lot of examples now. Oh, this was the most interesting one. One of the sales guys in my company mentioned this to me. Apparently, a friend of his, they visited Europe and they got one of these Airbnb apartments. And in the picture, it was like so beautifully furnished. It's Europe. I think you probably heard about the story. It was pretty popular. And then when these guys actually went, the apartment was empty. So they didn't know what to do. So this guy took a picture of it and then he tweeted saying, "Yo, Airbnb, what's up? We don't have any furniture." Within an hour, Airbnb furnished their entire apartment. Wow. That's the power of social media and of course data. So they know that if this information goes, their business is going to come down. So that I just wanted to quote this example, please.
There's another story about Airbnb that I don't know, maybe you've heard about this, but they found that the units that were rented, or people chose those units most frequently, were ones that had professional pictures taken.
Mm-hmm.
So then they started to pay photographers. If you wanted to rent out your apartment, they would pay a photographer to come and professionally photograph it, because it actually helps Airbnb because then more reservations were being made.
Oh yeah.
And so you didn't even have to pay for it. They would do it for you.
Yeah.
They figured out it actually helped them get more users.
Yeah. Oh, this was really funny. So in Africa in 2010, if I remember, a guy was found with a goat. Very compromising post. You all get it. So in Africa, if you marry a woman, the man has to pay the woman's family money. So the goat's owner, he pulled this guy to the court and asked him to pay money and asked him to marry the goat. And he did. And in 1 year, he wanted to divorce the goat and get the money back. And it was in court. And where did I read about this? In BBC. And when did I read about it? A month back, when there was when the flight crashed and there was war going on in Gaza. And I'm asking my husband, it's BBC, it's like the best news website. And why am I seeing this when I'm trying to look at the world in a different view? And why is this coming? Apparently, there are like bunch of these articles, and this is one of the most popular ones. Suddenly one person reads it and it comes up in the list, and a lot of people start reading it, and then it's up in the list. This article, it surfaces every now and then, like once in 6 months or a year. And there's another article in BBC, why this does. That's a very interesting article. If you just Google Africa BBC, you definitely will see it.
I've seen that happen on Boston.com too.
Oh, yeah.
Like where there's these, like every couple months, same article will come up.
Yeah. So even in Global Mail, because we wanted readership, every view was important. Like there was giants like BBC and also like news being delivered in the other mediums. Every readership was important. So if a reader looks for like some information, we would pull up articles with similar keywords. We pull it out to them, email it to them, so they come back.
Or they just see that their page views are down for the month and they've got a week left. But go to the goat story.
Maybe.
Throw that one
Goat
up
story, we
there.
didn't meet our quota.
Yeah, maybe.
For the month.
I mean, like, honestly, there was like so much information, nicely laid out information about Gaza and also the flight that crashed, the Malaysian Airlines, the flight that went missing. It was all there, but my eyes caught the goat story. I mean, what goat? Yeah, I have to read it. So with all this being said, where do you think this is heading to? Do you have thoughts? If you are in the profession, where do you think this would go? Or if you're an aspiring marketing person, I'm pretty sure you're going to use these. Do you have any thoughts of how you would use it?
Mobile,
Mm-hmm.
sure. Lots of traffic via mobile.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts?
Well, the ghost story is a good example because it's all about data driven. And it's not always going to be about the best, most important, most useful information. It's going to be about whatever gets clicked on the most. So it doesn't,
Yeah.
even though we're intelligent people, we're all going to read the ghost story.
Yeah.
And that's going to, if that's the data that's coming through, and they're making decisions purely on data,
Yeah.
then we're going to have that kind of story more and more going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, that's already happening.
That's fine.
But like your example, the data is great, but you can't always make your decisions based on what people are
Yeah,
trying
you
to
can't
read
let the
crazy
machines
stuff.
take the decision.
And then the
Yeah.
Steve Jobs example, people don't know if they want to read something from companies or buy or whatever your transactions.
Yeah.
Actually, if it goes to clear that plot land, like in Boston, inhabited by all this poison ivy. Goats, yeah, they got the goats to clear it so that human hands are not.
That goat story is pretty popular, I say. So there was this very interesting article about where this data-driven strategies are heading towards. It's a Forrester research report. So there is this existing model, and you can see from this little table here, the objective was to get a data report, but what we are moving towards is I don't want a report, I want a hypothesis. If I do this, what happens? If I do this, what happens? And what are the results? What is the best way for me to do? And then usually, even now in my company, if I want data, I have to go to this person, and then she has definitely heavy, tight schedule. She would send me a report. She would query the data warehouse or wherever. She knows where the information is, and then she would send the information to me. By then it gets to me. I would have lost my train of thoughts, and I don't even know why I asked for that data. This is not. I don't even use data. I'm only experimenting with stuff. But there are business analysts who sort of make decisions every day, but they have to wait for the monthly reports to come in. That's how the setup is right now. But now, where it's moving towards is self-service. All of the data that's being collected, eventually companies will start democratizing them. That's the word I learned today. They'll start democratizing data so everybody at every level can access the data, get the information they want, and take the decision at their level. And that has a huge impact on companies' growth. We don't want to wait for my CEO to come and tell me, okay, this is the direction we are going, and this is good for the company, and you do this. By then, it goes up through all the hierarchy channels, and we get the decision. We might have missed the boat already. Again, turnarounds. We don't want to wait. We now get maybe daily reports, weekly reports, but now we want on-demand reports. Google Trends was a breakthrough product because they were able to give you results right there, right then. And then also interaction, how data is getting, where the data is coming from. There are so many channels, social media, social analytics, web analytics. Who would have thought that we would get information that would change the company's business strategy through these channels 5 years ago? It's changing, and it might change eventually. People are saying there might not be internet itself in few years. It's not going to be mobile and mobile data. So we never know, but data is taking over. And also, there won't be a gatekeeper. There won't be a data analyst. Like, everybody will get access to all the data, and we can take our own decisions. So where I'm getting at is what I'm foreseeing, and from the conversation that I've had with my CTO and a lot of other executive level people, they want it to be very agile, and they want the organization to be flat, so we can be quick and we can be first in the market and we can grab all the attention that we want. And also, when there is so much data, they want to open the gates so everybody can access it and everybody can make innovation from that data. There will be unfettered access to data to everybody. And also, you will be using, when you have access to data, obviously when you know an information, you will be making decisions based on the information. Information is wealth at the end of the day. So this data that you collect through web analytics, social analytics, or through any channel, it's eventually going to influence your decisions. And every decision that you make is going to influence your business and eventually your business strategy. So every company, they are investing so much in this data and building a great data infrastructure and also coming up with a data strategy, so they are ahead of everybody else. And the good news is I'm done. So any thoughts, questions? It's an open forum.
I have a question.
Sure.
How would you get into web analytics just to like fool around and familiarize yourself with it? Like, would you just do Google Analytics or?
Yeah, I'd recommend Google Analytics because I started there. It's pretty straightforward. It's just a JavaScript that if you have your own website, you can just plug in the code, and then you also have Google Charts. So like the data that you're getting from Google Analytics is going to be raw data. So there are, I've mentioned that in the handouts that I've given. So there are tools that overlay on the data that you collect from data analytics, and they have some predefined metrics like Tableau and Looker. They're becoming very popular. They're like one layer above web analytics. So that could be very useful because you don't really have the time to go query. Right now, there's like this huge data warehouse, and you have to remember all the SQL statements. You query them, you get the information, you parse the information, and then you have to imagine what the information is and all that. But with this, it's going to just show you the graph, x-axis, y-axis, and this is where the curve is heading. Take the decision now. But yeah, I was going to say Google is pretty straightforward. It's a good idea to plug in Google Charts as well, so you get an idea. You can try like once you have your analytics set up, you can like ask few of your friends to do a certain things and see how it reflects. Like, that would be a good point to start. Any other questions? Yeah.
Is there a difference setting analytics for mobile websites as opposed to traditional websites? Like, can you measure what goes on your site on your phone or tablet as opposed to what goes on via the laptop?
Yes, definitely. So obviously, web analytics became so popular that there are so many companies that offer services in this space. Like Omniture has been in the market for so long, but they're super expensive. Like you have to pay 75 grand every year to use Omniture. And implementing Omniture, there's nothing else in this world that can be more complicated than that. But with Google, they give it free for you, but they have limited features. And there are like other tools like Flurry. They only do mobile, and even with mobile, they don't tell you, if I remember correctly, they don't tell you which user does what. They only tell you like a general statistics. These many people came. It's more like count based. 100 people came to your website, 100 people clicked this, 200 people did this, that. But they don't tell you which user did what. So that's a shortcoming. Again, this is a very new and evolving space, and people are coming with new ideas. Um, I also put a link in the handout that has a pretty good list of top 10 web analytics, social analytics, mobile analytics. So you can try look at them. It was pretty useful, and it had like good reviews as well. So.
I want to ask you a question. Can you elaborate a little bit about the democratization of data? What
Democratization, what is democracy?
do you think that's, so my thought is, because I'm not believe so much in the democratization of data, you think who is gonna get the data when you say democratization of data? Like people in the company?
Yes.
Or you mean
People in the company, basically. Obviously, outside the company would be a data breach. We don't want to get there. So I want to tell you an example. I'm in the web development team for my company, and we have this hectic schedule, because we sail in the same boat. And our company decided to be very agile. They dissolved the testing team. So the developers, we do the testing, we do the building. It's pretty hectic. We have to switch gears every now and then. And when we are testing, we want to test if the website is working in all the browsers. And we have this big laundry list of browsers: Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Safari on iPad, Safari on Chrome, Safari on Windows. So there are like these combinations of all of this. And then there is this monster, Internet Explorer. Bill Gates just woke up from his sleep and decided, okay, I'm not going to take care of Internet Explorer anymore. So that's a monster. And then but people still use Internet Explorer, and there are versions of Internet Explorer: IE9, IE8, IE6, IE7, and whatnot. So it was too much for the developers to do, and we went immediately. We went. So our company is sort of getting into democratization of data. So we have some data that's available to us. So we looked at the stats, and it's like literally 4 people used IE7. So why are we spending our energy and time testing IE7?
But I'm wondering if this democratization of data is gonna go, because I think developers has more access and people that takes the decision like marketing, but if it's gonna go, before that barriers, like
Yes.
normal people in the company, like
Yes, so that is why companies are working on strategizing data. So that is very, very important.
because if you talk about that, if you think about how much data the government has taken, that's me. The government
I
has
agree with you.
go with this data.
Yeah.
Think
Although,
about how is the protection of the data, right?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I agree with you, because at the end of the day, data it's information about all of us, and we don't want data breaches. So companies are being very, very careful about how they want to deal with the data. So they're trying to invest ahead of time. That's why I said every company is trying to have a data strategy. Who can access what data and how, and what type of decisions can they make with this data? That's a really, really complex problem to solve, but companies are definitely, I can say, are investing in this realm. Yes?
So, if everyone's making all these decisions on the fly on the on-demand data, who's in charge of deciding how valid the data is? Because we all know that web analytics is not always 100% accurate. So.
Yeah. I also want to quote, when we decided not to test IE7, there was a bug. And a client sent us an email saying that there is a bug in your site, and that was a valuable client. And it so happened she was one of the 4. What are the odds? So last week, and it so happened I was the build master for that release. So I had to stay up late in the night, and then when all of Forrester's customers went to sleep, I stayed up, and then I did the release for that little fix there. So it's not bulletproof.
Yeah.
We also learn from our mistakes. Like, if my team is there, a part of my performance is rated based on, I take ownership for the website. If the website goes down, every team member has equal responsibility. We can't blame each other. So I would think what is best for the company. So I would use my judgment to make the best calls. But again, it's not bulletproof. So it's
there are things that can get into your analytics, like
yes,
random
yes, I agree.
that just come keep hitting. It looks like you did great with the welcome this one.
Yes. So when you
I'm
are
just wondering if you have to sort of train everybody who's using this data on what it actually is.
Yeah, that will be a huge process. That might also mean we have to restructure some of the existing process, some of how people are working today. We definitely need to be learning about it. But from what I'm seeing, it will eventually come to that level. We have to be prepared. But it's a very it's a fine line.
Because the bottom of your chart there said, data analyst. It's the old model. They're going away, and then everybody is the new model.
Yeah.
But giving some skills to everybody.
Yeah. So I was like, so I had this idea. Obviously, I thought about all this too. So what happens if everybody gets there? What happens if everybody gets to make a decision? So our CTO, he sent me an email saying that he was working for a previous company, and they obviously tried the democratization of data, and now the CTO or the CFO himself, he goes and he doesn't rely on anybody else to get the information. He goes, he does his queries, he gets what he wants, and then he makes the decisions then and there. So it's not about, there are two ways to look at it. It's like people in the bottom of the line making the decisions, or even people who are already making the decisions, how quickly are they making the decisions? This is like looking at it from the other side of the spectrum. It speeds up the decision process. Like if we didn't know that people were looking at the royal wedding, people were like interested in the royal wedding, we couldn't have made that call. And if we had waited for the royal wedding to happen on the day, and then we obviously know all the customers were, everybody were watching the wedding, we couldn't have made the call. So again, it's a fine line. It's an evolving industry. There's so much scope for this, and it's bound to grow a lot. It's good to know about this. It'll definitely help you in your careers, especially if you want to stay in the web medium. That's my thoughts. Anything else? Anybody else? Questions? Thoughts?
I have a question, because I have this problem with web analytics. It's very useful, I think, so for companies that sell stuff, Now, what happens when you have a non-profit? I know you can use it, but it's more hard to see what, if you are gaining customers because they are not buying some stuff necessarily. So how do you see that, like web analytics, but in non-profits company?
Well,
I know you always sell something, but it's more hard.
It doesn't have to be money, right? If you're selling, by sales, I mean you're also you're selling viewership. What does Google get? It's an open world. It's free. It's open source. Where are they making the money from? Nobody knows. It's a mystery. They're not selling anything. Ads. Yeah, but everything is free. So how would Google measure their sales? Their sales is a different channel. So every business will have its own metrics, and a metric that would suit you will not suit same company in the same medium. It's different. Although you and I are web developers, we work for different companies, our requirements are different. So that's why this is so popular. People want it, but there is not enough. So more and more companies are if you see, there are so many tools that offer you a variety of information. So it depends like what you want to pick and what you want to make use of. No problem. Yes.
I was wondering if you had come across a tool that could help you A/B test your website, because I do a lot of A/B testing, but it will just like the back end engineers build something to handle it, and so if you don't have that ability yourself to do that, it's just
Well, I haven't done A/B test at all. The only time I've been in an A/B test was like we were in a room, there was a glass, and there was another person. He can't see us. It was like almost this police interrogation room, and then he had all this gear on his head, and they were like even tracking his eye. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
I have some suggestions for, so Google Analytics does have an A/B testing tool in there. It's a little bit more technical. There's also sites like Optimizely, which make it a little bit easier. It does require having to put a little bit of code on the back end, so you will have to get the developers to do that and work with them. It's not free. Optimizely is not free, but it is a little bit more free.
Yeah. So this link that I said, it also talks about Optimizely because it does some analytics stuff as well. And yesterday I found in Google Drive you can add apps, and there was one app that said you can do A/B testing. Maybe you want to try that.
Okay.
If you go to Google, if you click new, there's an option that says more apps, and I saw like an A/B testing app in that.
Thank you.
Should we call it a day? Oh, yes.
This is hot. So I just moved here from Salt Lake City, Utah, and there's an Adobe headquarters or campus that's just opened in Salt Lake City last year, and I toured the facility. And they actually have like a data analytics room, and it's a room like this size. There's like TVs all around, and there's like a whole staff that just watches like usership of their product. And they said that one day that they were just watching analytics, and then all of a sudden in London, like all of their usership just dropped off the planet, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, something crashed!" And so they went into this frantic mode, and then they found out afterwards that it was because the soccer game had started.
Monitors with like the news.
That was awesome.
Kind of highlights how important the interpretation step is.
Thank you all for coming and for the interaction. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Do you know Tom Morsinia from the Globe? He's worked there for quite a while.